live the life of a podcast guest, which means you don't need any equipment. You don't have any rules. If you want to take a month off, you take a month off and nobody knows. When I first heard that, I said, no, you don't get paid for being a guest on a podcast. So please explain yourself. And you'll either sell 100 or 200 more books, or they'll say, gee, I want more. Do you have a workshop? Do you have a retreat on this topic? Do you have coaching on this topic?
Welcome to the Thought Leader Revolution with Nicky Billou. Join the revolution. There's never been a better time in history to speak your truth, find your freedom, and make your fortune. Each week, we interview the world's top thought leaders and learn the secrets of how they built a 6 to 7 figure practice. This episode has been brought to you by eCircleAcademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. I'm your host, Nicky Billou, back with my favorite ever guest, the one and only Raymond Aaron.
Well, all of life is gratitude if you live well. And I am grateful that you taught me how to launch my podcast about 300 episodes ago. I can't believe it's almost 300 now. And we're going to talk about something dear to everyone's heart. Most people have noticed that food costs are crazy. I picked up an orange a couple days ago, and I said, oh, this is a nice orange. And then I looked at the price. It was $8. It was a big orange, but $8?
That's crazy.
Who the hell can afford that? People just can't afford to live any longer. House prices are over $1 million in every city. It's just crazy. And so you need extra money. If you have a job and you love your job, keep your job. I love employees. My business would fold and Nicky's business would fold if we didn't have staff. Amazon would go bankrupt, and Victoria's Secret and Amazon and Apple, they'd all go under. You need staff. And you are staff and you're not earning enough. We're going to be revealing to you a way that in 5 hours a week, and we really mean it, 5 hours a week, you can make a lot of money. So it's obviously part-time. It's obviously you do it on the evenings or weekends because you choose the time. And really it's 5 hours. And it's an unusual way that nobody knows about. Nicky discovered it. And he teaches it. And I'm a student of his. I attended his very first course because I was so intrigued. And I'm doing it. And his graduates are doing it. So what is it? What the heck is this? Tell everybody.
So Raymond, actually, it's something that so few people have ever heard of. It's making money, wait for it, by being a guest on somebody else's podcast. We call it podcast guesting.
But when I first heard that, I said, no, you don't get paid for being a guest on a podcast. So please explain yourself.
Well, you know what? That would make logical sense, and it would be absolutely incorrect because you actually can get paid by being a guest on somebody else's podcast. And Raymond, this is something you taught me. You've been my student, I've been your student. And one of the things you taught me was the power of a powerful intention. A powerful intention can make wonderful results come your way. I remember sitting in one of your classrooms and you showed me how you and your colleagues in the Transformational Leadership Council would be able to attract money to yourselves. And one of the things you would do is you would actually physically stand up and put your hands out and go, more. Do you remember teaching that? Do you remember that? And I just was watching it going, oh my God, is this real? As if this is real. This is the answer to all my prayers. I'm going to go for this. More. So the first thing I did when I went on podcasts is I got myself a person to coach me on how to go on podcasts to make money. Because up until that point, nobody had really figured out a way to make money by being a guest on other people's shows. And this fellow who's my coach said to me, Nicky, right now, your business is in trouble because this was during the time of the lockdowns. And as a result of the lockdowns, my traditional business just went kaput. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to figure something out. I need to make money. How are we going to do this? And he said, I have an idea. I said, great, give it to me. I need an idea badly. And he said, why don't you go and be a guest on other people's podcasts in order to get leads, sales, and clients? I said, okay, but how do we do that? I've never done that before. Nobody's ever done that before. Do you know how to do that? And his answer was, and Raymond, you're going to love this answer. He said, I have no idea, but we'll figure it out together. That's what he said to me. I have no idea, but we'll figure it out together. And I'm like, okay. Look, I had no choice, Raymond. I mean, $500,000 in business disappeared, so I needed to replace that income. So I said, okay, let's figure it out. So what I did, the first thing I did is I discovered a hack. And Raymond, this hack is brilliant, and you know about this hack now, but there had been a few AI-driven platforms, and I know you're a big proponent of AI and how people need to get on board with AI in their business, otherwise they're going to get left behind. So we found some AI-driven platforms that using AI could get you opportunities to be guests on a show, as many as $720 a month for less than $50 a month.
Okay, I'm out of here. $720 a month. That's not 5 hours a week. I'm out of here. You're not telling me.
That's crazy.
Let me out of here.
Right. But obviously no one's going to go on that many shows in a single month. But that was how many shows were available for you to position yourself and pitch to be on. So in the past, if you wanted to go be on a TV show, a radio show, or a podcast, you'd have to hire a PR agency. It would cost you thousands and thousands of dollars a month. And they would maybe put your name in front of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shows a month, maybe get you on 1 to 2 shows, maybe 3 shows a month, 5 shows if you were really lucky, for $5,000 or $10,000 a month. So the cost of hiring these agencies to get you on shows was prohibitive for most people. Unless you were a famous author or a big celebrity, it just didn't make sense. But these AI-driven platforms, Raymond, they allow you and me and anybody to be able to go be on shows for under $50 a month, and not just 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, but as many as you wanted to. Practically speaking, more than you'd ever need to, because no one's going to be on 720 shows a month. I decided 1 month to go crazy, and I went on 35 shows a month, and I thought that was insane, right? So most people wouldn't have to do this. So we figured this out. Okay, it's not going to cost us a lot to go on shows. Let's do it. And then I figured out how to write a pitch on how to intrigue and entice hosts to say, okay, I want you on my show. So that part we figured out pretty quickly, Raymond, okay? We did that in the first few weeks. But Raymond, I went on my first show. I got no leads, no sales, no clients. Second, same. Third, fourth, fifth, no leads, no sales, no clients. So that part we weren't figuring out quickly. But you know what we did? After every appearance, me and this coach would sit down and do an after-action debrief. What did you say? What did you do well? What didn't you do well? And then we'd prepare to do better on the next time. I went and I did a 6th, a 7th, an 8th, a 9th, and a 10th. Still no leads, still no sales, still no clients. But after every show, after-action reports, debriefs, learnings, I felt we were getting closer. I kept going on shows. We got to 20, nothing. 30, no leads. 40, no sales. 50, no clients. 60, still no leads. But debriefs, learnings, feeling like we're getting closer. Feeling like Thomas Edison when he was trying to invent the light bulb, you know, when he put down light bulb after light bulb after light bulb and it wasn't working. But he said, I didn't fail. I just learned one more method how not to do it. And that's kind of the attitude that we had. We got to 60 and 70 and 80 and 90. No leads, no sales, no clients, but the learnings were great. We were feeling like we were close. 91, 92, 93, nothing. 94, nothing. 95, nothing. But God, we were feeling so close. Like we could almost taste it. We weren't quite there, but we felt we were close.
Nicky, cross the finish line already.
98, 99, 100. And then it all came together, Raymond. It all came together at 100. And we go, oh my God, we figured it out. And on show 101, I got my first lead and my first sale, and my first client. And then all of a sudden, Raymond, the system was as clear as day. It was mapped out because of all these debriefs we'd done. We figured out every part of the process. And Raymond, I have now generated $418,000 in sales,
Wow.
5 hours a week through podcast guesting. 418,000. I got 2 sales last week.
And how much are your typical sales?
The lowest, so I sell different programs. The lowest sale figure is $2,000. The average sale figure is $8,000.
Wow.
But I've done sales as big as $40,000 too, but those are rarer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you figured it out, and now you can teach it to other people like you did to me.
Yes.
So what are the steps? Tell us.
So, Raymond, step number 1, before you do this, you should take our specially designed scorecard. And can I just share the screen with you and show you the scorecard? Yeah. So, can you see the screen, Raymond?
Yes.
So this is a link to the podcast guest scorecard. And there's 7 questions. And when you answer these questions, it'll tell you how well you're doing with podcast guesting. So I'm going to just take the test just as a test, right? So I'm going to put in my name, Nicky, my last name, Billou, and my email address. Whoops. So boom, that's all person's got to do. And then the questionnaire shows up. So I'm not getting on high quality podcasts versus I'm getting on 10 or more high quality podcasts a month. So for me, I'm going to answer this relatively truthfully. I'm going to say, yeah, I'm getting on quite a few. I'm not booking any potential new client breakthrough calls. I'm booking 5 to 10 potential new client breakthrough calls. Now I am doing this, but I'm going to just give it an average score just for the sake of showing the typical score somebody would get.
But hold on. What is a client breakthrough call?
A client breakthrough call is like basically a sales call that you set up with a client. So as a result of being on shows, I'm getting to set up a bunch of sales calls with prospects.
And these are the participants. These are the subscribers, the host subscribers. Is that right?
Correct. Exactly. So I'm not getting any clients from my breakthrough calls. I'm getting 2 to 10 clients a month from my breakthrough calls. So as a result of these calls, are you getting calls? And I'm just going to give it an average score again. I've been on fewer than 10 podcasts as a guest. I've been on over 100 podcasts as a guest. Give it an average score again. I haven't generated any sales from my podcast guest appearances. I've generated $2,000 to $10,000 a month from my podcast guest appearances. Boom. I don't want the help of an expert to show me how to get booked and get paid on podcasts. I want to do it myself, even if it takes longer. Yes, I want an expert to show me a shortcut to getting paid clients now from podcasts. Boom. And then I'm scared to go on a podcast as a guest. I'm excited to go on a podcast as a guest. Boom. So the score I got from this test I did was 23. So here's what that means.
23 out of what?
Out of 35.
Okay.
So you're doing okay at podcast guesting. You can get on shows and even generate some leads and sales, but you're not maximizing your opportunities and your sales results are mediocre. You're not thrilled about it. Let us help you optimize how to leverage your podcast guesting appearances to generate as many leads as you can handle so that you never have to be frustrated or stressed out by mediocre sales results again. Click on the button below to book your complimentary breakthrough call. So someone's gotten a score like this and they want to get better at this. Here's the next thing they do. They click on this link and it takes them to a calendar and they can schedule a call, not with just anybody, Raymond, but with Nicky Billou himself,
wow,
the podcast guest expert. And you will get my time for free. This doesn't cost a thing. It's complimentary. And in 45 minutes, I will map out a blueprint for you for how you can do better. But Raymond, we're going to give them a taste of what that blueprint can look like once they're on the call right now. So, at your advice, I decided to write a book about this called Get Booked and Get Paid. And you so generously wrote the foreword to this book. And in this book, there's a couple of things that we say a person needs to do in order to be successful at getting booked on shows and getting leads and sales from shows. Number one is your intention needs to be, when you go on a show, that I'm going to generate some leads and some sales and some clients. Your intention can't be, I'm just going to go on the show and have a good conversation with somebody. That's like table stakes. Of course you want to have a good conversation with somebody, but if that's your main focus and that's your main intention, then that's all you're going to have. And you won't generate any leads, you won't generate any sales, you won't generate any clients. In the first 100 podcast guest appearance I had, my intention initially wasn't very strong. It was, okay, I want to learn. That was my intention. I want to go on shows and I want to learn how to do this. And you know what, Raymond? Because that was my intention, that's exactly what I did. I learned.
Right.
Right? You remember, it was like, if you want to make more money, more. You got to have that be your intention. And when we teach this to people and they go, oh, it's that simple, that my intention is I'm going to get leads and sales and clients? I go, yeah, it is that simple. And Raymond, you're the expert on law of attraction. You've been teaching this stuff for decades. Tell me, in your opinion, in your considered opinion, why is it important to have a powerful intention like that?
Well, if I'm running a marathon and as I'm going along, I see a pizza shop that I once ate at and I really enjoyed it. If I say, well, I don't want to forget where it is, I should go there right now and have a pizza, then I don't have a strong intention to cross the finish line. Of course, you need the correct running shoes. Of course, you need to subscribe to Runner's World magazine. Of course, you need to train every day. Of course, you need a trainer, eat properly, lose weight, all that stuff. But if the intention isn't there, you can get distracted. And the intention actually pulls towards you what you want. Most people who don't have the skills and don't have the success in life, they think they have to go somewhere to get the goodies of life. Interestingly, if you live at a high enough vibration, the goodies of life that you want are racing towards you, but you stop them with your bad intentions. And so it's intentions. Intentions is the beginning point. Once you have the intention of getting to the finish line, you'll make a mental note of where the pizza shop is and you'll keep running. And you had an intention to learn, so you learned. Wouldn't it be nice if you had set the intention to make money right from the beginning? You wouldn't have had to slog through 100 podcasts. Goodness gracious.
Well, thank God I did it. So, if you're listening to this, you don't have to. You don't have to go through 100 shows. You can start making money on your first show. And here's the other thing that's powerful, Raymond. I know that you help a lot of people write books. You have a wonderful program called the 10-10-10 program, and you have a lot of authors that have written books because of you, myself included. My first ever book was because I was your client, and I learned how to write a book because of being in your program. Well, one of the best ways for you to leverage your book is to be a guest on other people's podcasts. Now, Raymond, why is that a good idea as an author, to be on other people's podcasts with your book?
Right. And you'll either sell 100 or 200 more books, or they'll say, gee, I want more. Do you have a workshop? Do you have a retreat on this topic? Do you have coaching on this topic?
Exactly. So if you are an author or you have a book that's coming out, podcast guesting is a wonderful way for you to be able to leverage your book, to sell more copies of your book, or to be able to promote the other services that your company provides that book is intended to help amplify. And that's a fantastic thing. That's a beautiful thing. And by the way, here's one thing that a lot of people don't know. They go, how am I going to get on shows? Why would they want to interview me? So I want to let you know the little secret. Right now, as of today, Raymond, there are 5.8 million podcasts in existence around the globe. 5.8 million. The overwhelming majority are what I call interview format shows. That means there's a host and he interviews somebody else. Now, there are a number of shows where the host just talks and there's nobody there, but the overwhelming majority are interview format shows. I have a show, you have a show. They're both interview format shows, right?
Yes.
We are always constantly looking for great guests, are we not? You always are looking for a great new person. So if somebody is got a brand new book and an interesting topic, which you cover in your podcast, isn't that almost like a godsend to you? Oh my God, this is a brand new book about the topic I talk about. Great. All I got to do is ask questions and they're going to speak. Phenomenal, right?
Not only if your book is on the topic of my podcast, would I love to have you, especially if it's a new book. But on top of that, there's a secret, another secret. Nicky revealed one secret. I'm going to tell you another secret. Podcast hosts live in constant fear. We contact our AV guy in the background and say, how many podcasts have I got in the can that haven't been released yet? And if it's 5 or 6, 5 or 6, good. I release one a month. I'm okay for a month. But if you take your eye off the ball, you get a call from your AV guy, which I've had a couple times and it's horrid. Your next podcast is due out tomorrow and I don't have any in the can. I don't have any pre-recorded. Do one today. It's horrible. And so even though you might think highly of a podcast host, and I'm glad you do, but podcast hosts live in fear that we haven't got enough pre-recorded that we can relax. And so we need guests. You might be startled, say, who would want me? We do. We do. We need you.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Raymond. I got that call last week, and we share the same podcast producer, Chris, and he sent me a text and said, hey, show's due tomorrow. I got nothing. And I'm like, I was frantically calling people. Do you have 30 minutes? Do you have 20 minutes? I need to interview you right now. Are you free? I mean, it's nerve-wracking to have to do that. It really is.
You see, people have the impression that if you're on radio or television or a podcast, you must be like a genius. It must be Meryl Streep or Brad Pitt or Bill Clinton or something. That was true 50, 60, 70 years ago. I grew up in Toronto and we got 3 television stations, Toronto, Barrie, and Buffalo. That's it. But today, you can reach every single radio station through the internet. You can reach every single TV station. There's 100 million websites. There's millions of podcasts. There's millions of hotels that are holding events by different entrepreneurs. And all of them, millions, hundreds of millions of people are desperate for a guest. It's not like the old days where if you got on television, you were amazing. Now there's so many television stations that the hosts are desperate for a guest. So let's recap. Don't live the life of a podcast host. It's not as glorious as you think. And it's expensive. Number 2, live the life of a podcast guest, which means you don't need any equipment. You don't have any rules. If you want to take a month off, you take a month off and nobody knows. And if you want to be a guest, you go to a particular website that Nicky can tell you about that lists all the hosts in your area. And you just go click, 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 click. I'm interested. And they call you back. Some of them say, let's do it later in the year. Some say, can we do it today? Because they're desperate. That's right. And then the next thing is, you have to be trained by Nicky, who's the world master at it because he invented it. You have to be trained to have the right intention and to say the right things. You have to know in advance what you're going to say. And so here's a strange thing that Nicky taught me. No matter what they ask as their very first question, you don't answer it. Yeah, it's very strange. You say, oh, Mr. Host, that's a very good question. And then you go on to say what you have prepared to say. And it sounds like you're answering the host because you said, very good, here's my answer. Absolutely. But when you prepare what you want to say, the stories that Nicky will teach you to find from your own personal history, when you tell those particular stories, the host, or at least some of the subscribers, will say, Gee, I'd like to learn from that guy. I'd like to buy that guy's book. I'd like to go on his retreat to the Caribbean. I'd like to be coached by him, whatever it is that you're offering.
It's absolutely true. Because while it's very important when you go on a show that you respect the host and that you are delivering phenomenal value, quite often the questions they ask are not going to help you deliver the best level of value based on your expertise. So you need to be really clear. You need to have prepared what you're going to say in advance. And yes, from show to show, there's going to be nuances and difference in what you say, but the basic structure of your talk is going to be the same. It's very similar to someone who's delivering a stage talk. People think that the people who go speak on stage are brilliant because they've usually heard them for the very first time. But the truth of the matter is they usually deliver the same talk on different stages again and again and again. Now, Raymond, tell us, why is that?
Because we create a great talk and it works. And I want to amplify your point. I want to give an example of a question a host would ask and then my prepared answer. So let's say the host asked me, Raymond, you're a professional speaker. You've been successful for all these years, but how did you get into this, as their first question? And I would say, wow, thank you. That's a very good question. Yes, my name is Raymond Aaron. I am a New York Times top 10 bestselling author. In fact, I've written 147 books, but I admit that I am an overachiever. And everybody laughs because it's kind of funny and it's impressive. But I didn't answer the question of how I got started. But nevertheless, I said I was going to answer it, and I answered something else, but it was so interesting that people just accept it. Yes. And so it's not like you're disobeying the host. You're playing along. You're moving the show along, giving a better answer than he even wanted. Exactly. Because how I got started, maybe it's not interesting. Maybe I watched a TV show and I saw a professional speaker and I said, that's who I want to be. But so what? It's not interesting. Anyways, you get on shows, which is easy and really inexpensive, and you have no requirement to do one a month or one a year. You can do 5 a month, 5 a week. It's totally up to you. If you want to go on vacation, just stop doing it. It's very easy. And then in Nicky's course, you'll learn how to answer the questions correctly so that the host and some of the subscribers will want to use your services or buy your book. And then you get paid. And it works, and it works magically.
It does.
And no one else is doing it. You know, there's certain things like, I don't know. There's all kinds of things that people sell that used to work a long time ago, and they made a lot of money at it, but technology's moved on and it doesn't work any longer, but they keep selling it because it sounds good. This is so brand new. No one knows about it yet, and it's working.
Absolutely.
And also, Nicky, what if the clients really want to ask you a question in order to help them decide about enrolling in your course? How can they actually talk to you?
Raymond, that's a great question. It's really simple. I have a calendar link. It's ecircleacademy.com/appointment. That's ecircle, the letter E, the word circle, the word academy.com/appointment. That leads you directly to my personal calendar. You can pick a time that works for you, and I will call you, and I will give you 45 minutes of my time, free of charge, to help you think this through, to coach you on how to set the right goals for this, and help you decide whether this is the right thing for you to do. And I highly encourage you to take advantage of that. I love communicating with people. I love having a conversation with a fellow human being. There's nothing more incredible, Raymond, than this, what you and I are doing right now. So if you agree and you're listening to this, please go to ecircleacademy.com/appointment and let's have a conversation. Let's help you make a great decision to take your life and business to the next level.
Nicky, tell them how they can take your course.
So there is a wonderful link that we have. I think it's aaron.com/booked. It's aaron.com/booked.
That's BOOKED.
Correct.
Booked. Yeah.
And all you need to do is click on that link, and it's self-explanatory. The next time the course is being taught is December 27th and 28th. We have a tradition of hosting the workshop between Christmas and New Year's, and we actually get quite a great turnout for it. It's a great way to prepare to crush the new year. It's like getting yourself set to achieve your biggest goals. Last year, Raymond, we had a phenomenal turnout, and many of them were actually your clients who decided they wanted to do the course at that time. And they thanked us for doing the course between Christmas and New Year's. They said it really set them off to start the new year very, very powerfully. So go to aaron.com/booked, and that's how you sign up for the course. And I'm also going to leave a link to the scorecard in the comments section and in the notes section of the podcast. So you can just click on the scorecard and you can get a sense right now of where your kind of podcast guesting skill set is at and what you need to do to improve it. And that's really simple. It's really easy. It'll take you 5 minutes and it's absolutely free. So make sure you take advantage of that as well.
Aaron.com/booked. Yeah, great.
Awesome. Thank you, Raymond. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you. Always a pleasure to chat with you. You make me think, and you make me smile. Both of those are good things.
Yes. Well, you always uplift me with your high energy. You match my high energy. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wonderful show. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
This episode has been brought to you by eCircleAcademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.